Hello and welcome to the Men at the Movies, the YouTube channel. My name is Paul McDonald, and joining me is Wailer Giles. And we did a full podcast, like an hour's conversation on the next 3 days, and about what that means, what it looks like to love your wife well, even when sometimes she's sort of problematic. Not that, and basically it's like, it doesn't matter. We have to love them anyway. And so what that looks like and what that looks like to passionately pursue the heart of your wife. So check that out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. But there's a scene towards the end of the movie, and actually there's two scenes that really choked me up, got me emotional, and they both had to do with his dad. And so this scene, we're going to play it for you guys, just to tee it up. The situation is Russell Crowe plays John Brennan. You know, if you're not familiar with the movie, his wife's been accused of murder. She says she hasn't done it. At this point in the movie, we're kind of uncertain, but he is 100% convinced, has been convinced the whole time she is innocent. And so because the legal system has failed, no more appeals, no more nothing, she's going to jail forever. His only recourse is to break her out of prison. We get the feeling, well, we don't get the feeling. We know his relationship with his dad is strained. He's like, why should I call my dad on his birthday? All I got was a grunt. But we see him played by Brian Denehey. You see the dad taking care of the son. So John shows up in the middle of the night. The dad, again played by Brian Denehey, discovers tickets. He knows something's up. He figures that this is the last time he's going to see him. He's going to go try to break out Laura from prison. And this goodbye, again, somebody who's sort of been softly supporting, but not really verbally engaging at all. Like you said on the podcast, he probably has like 6 words the whole movie. And then, so this scene, then it really kind of surprised me, the power of it and the emotion that it brought up. So I wanted to talk about it with Wailer here on the YouTube channel.
So, what do you say?
Thank you, Grandma.
I think you should give Grandma a big kiss.
Too tired for kisses.
Buddy.
Well, that's okay. I'll get lots of kisses next weekend. We want to take him to the fall festival in Cootstown, where the Clydesdales are. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Grandpa.
Goodbye. Bye, Mom.
You're getting sentimental in your old age.
Yeah. Well, I might as well have some coffee.
So Wailer, what is it that you see in this scene that kind of brings some tears to our eyes?
Oh man, you got an old school dad that never figured out masculine affection. You have a very Baton Powell kind of a facade. Yeah, that was just the way so much of that generation was. You know, they came back from the war. They made a lot of babies, but in many cases never figured out how to reconcile with the hurt in their hearts and how to meet their sons and all the needs that they had for masculine affirmation. But God bless, he figures out so much, like the power of performance that he had, and just the thought behind his eyes, everything on his face. He sees plane tickets and then knows everything. He figured out all the story before and everything going forward. He knew enough of what was going to happen. And so it's a huge act of love to communicate to his son, I see you, I understand you, and to effectively endorse his decision. And I think communicate fatherly pride to him. Like, I get it. This is your wife and your child. Absolutely. Hard not to cherish all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had you go first because I'm still trying to figure it out. But what you said there is, you see in that moment, he shows him, yeah, I see you've got these tickets and your passport, and that sense of approval, like almost like, yeah, I know probably I haven't been the dad you wanted for years, but sort of his blessing, right? That felt like his blessing of, go with my blessing, and then later when you see them, when you see him look up Venezuela, which I think is where the tickets were for and where they ended up escaping to, and he's looking it up in an encyclopedia because that's how old they were. They had an encyclopedia or a map or something, and it's almost
using an
like
atlas.
It's almost like he's trying to figure out a way to stay in touch. He's like, I know where they're going. I don't have to let it die, or at least just knowing sort of visually where he is meant something to his dad. And even, that he knew what was going to happen. And so he made themselves scarce. We went out, he wanted to go look at the leaves because it's the fall, and we just drove around for the day. How convenient on the day that your son goes to break his wife out of prison.
Yeah.
But I think it's that, because so many of us, I think, misunderstand our fathers. We don't know what's going on
and feel
behind the scenes.
misunderstood by our fathers, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think we see that even with Luke and John in the movie, that John's got all these plans, but Luke doesn't really know about them. And to sort of, again, receive that blessing, that validation from your father as you leave, probably figuring that this will be the last time he sees him, was just, I thought, was a super powerful moment in the movie. And, as we've said, if you're telling a story and I managed to get emotional during some point of it, you've done something right. And this movie might have a 50 on Rotten Tomatoes or something, but they did something right if they could pull the heartstrings in the right way to evoke that emotion.
Rotten Tomatoes can't be right about everything.
Exactly. Yeah, this seemed awfully low, but yeah, who knows?
Well, there's a quote from Maya Angelou that has been very impactful in being kind to my own story, and also, I think even more, trying to understand other people's stories. She said, "You did what you knew how to do. When you knew better, you did better." And so the people that we wished would love us better, even if it was just a 5% adjustment, it's like, why is it such a big deal to tell me something nice about me every once in a while, or to hug me, or insert need here, right? And I think that's a lot of what goes on between John and his dad. Different generations, different tendencies. And here's an instant of his dad learning and doing better when he sees, because what he's realizing is this might be the last time he gets to see his son. So he hasn't said much other than goodbye.
Right.
But everything on his face was all of a father's delight in his son.
Yeah.
And to do the best that he knew how in giving him that story. It's just so powerful. And that they convey so much of that with very little dialogue. And the multiple dimensions, the dad doesn't say anything to the mom because he's protecting her from going crazy if she knew any of this stuff, right? There's so many levels to it. I like what you're saying about the Atlas. There's some hope that maybe they get some plane tickets years down the road, or a boat
when the
to
heat
somewhere
dies
else.
down.
So, yeah, do it without leaving a trail. But Yeah, it's good. Like we all received a lot of language of identifying our own love languages. We haven't gotten as much training in being willing to learn how to translate other people's communication styles. And this scene, I thought, gave so much of that,
Yeah.
where it's not perfect, it's not tidy, but everybody's trying. And just that willingness to lean in each other's direction. So strong.
Yeah. Morgan Snyder refers to that as receiving the partial. It's like, yeah, it may not be the full portion of the interaction either man wants. Either the son craves or the father desires, in that moment, because like you said, he's sort of constrained in what he can offer up in front of the mom who doesn't really know what's going on. And I think it's important, as we enter into this holiday season, that receiving the partial is very important. Thanksgiving may not have gone the way you wanted. Christmas and the holidays and the parties and the decorating and Christmas tree, all the things, we put so much pressure on everything to be perfect. And I loved what you said is this scene had very little conversation between father and son, but it conveyed enough. There was a connection, and that's what's important. So I hope that this holiday season that you guys find that connection, receive the partial, and check out the full YouTube or check out the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and hear more an hour-long conversation as we deep dive into this movie. So hope you enjoyed it, and join us next time here on Men at the Movies, the YouTube channel.